Journey to Healing, Reaching Women with a Desperate Cry is an 8-week Zoom seminar in which Kamala and Winston help women to start living their best life by rediscovering the image of God in their life. Kamala, a licensed marriage and family therapist, joins her husband of 16 years, an ordained pastor, to marry the clinical and the spiritual. You will begin living your best life filled with love, joy, and peace. Register at kwministries.net for this life-changing seminar.
So anxious resistant. So remember there were 4 categories, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anxious resistant kids were on the opposite end of the spectrum. They didn't have a lot of self-confidence. They really clung to their caregivers, whether it's parents. When I say caregivers, I mean parents, grandparents, just old people in their lives who were, really part of that initial bonding experience. For these kids, they tended to have really exaggerated emotional reactions to stuff, but they also kept the distance from their peers. How did this translate into adulthood? That translated into anxious, preoccupied adults. Mm-hmm. And so they kind of formed less secure bonds with partners and feel really desperate for love and affection.
God is patient. God is kind. God is long-suffering. God never fails. God always hopes. God always trusts. God always perseveres. God doesn't envy. God doesn't boast. God doesn't seek his own, but is always seeking what's best for you. God rejoices in the truth.
That's right.
God doesn't define love. God demonstrates love.
There's a commercial that used to say, "Don't leave home without it." I think it was MasterCard. And at the end they would say, you couldn't put a price on it. A price could not be put on what you and your wife did for me this week. And I'm just praying that your ministry will continue to be the blessing to others as it has been to me this week. Just the opening of the eyes, just seeing God's word with a whole different set of lenses, just understanding what is required of us and laying aside the misnomers, the erroneous teachings, the errors, and just accepting who I am in Christ. And no one else could tell me who I am but the Word.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for hanging out with us all week long.
Thank you for being there with us.
Right.
evening. Good evening. We are back. It is indeed another Monday night here with us on KW Ministries. We are super excited to be here tonight. We are always super excited to be here. But what can I say? We enjoy what we do. We enjoy these Monday nights with you. We enjoy getting the chance to really dive in and delve into somebody else's experience, where their journey has led them, and how we get to be a part of it, how we get to share in that journey, how we get to grow on our own journey. I see that we've got a couple of people already on social media. Good night, Sister Glennis. Good night, Pastor Taylor. I I want my prize, he says. He's already waiting for it and ready. Before we tell you about prizes and all that stuff tonight, how about we tell you a little bit about why we're here? If you're watching us for the very first time, you might be wondering, well, okay, what is KW Ministries? Like, what is this about? Why are you here? Why are you doing this live show? So KW Ministries was born out of a personal experience of myself and my husband. Like many of you who are following along and listening along, you've gone through some really challenging experiences in your life. For us, that challenge was marital. Now, some of you can share in that. But some of you also can share in this idea that it's not just challenges don't just occur in one aspect of our lives. Sometimes they occur in all different aspects. And so one of the things that we get to do coming together is to really grow and learn from each other. So KW Ministries had a really interesting start. So I want to actually bring your attention to our website. So yes, I think by now, those of you who have been following along, you know I'm the salesperson of the team. So let me bring our website into view. As we went through our own journey of healing, one of the things that we discovered was, as you're going through a journey, sometimes it's so interesting that God comes alongside you and kind of helps you on that journey. So the very first part of our journey took us to what you might see on your screen. I'm scrolling down now to devotional number 1, The Journey Begins, which was really just our exploration into, gosh, what is it that God has for us? What does he have in store for us? How can we learn from him and grow from him and heal with him? And so he took us down this path, this journey of healing through the Journey Begins devotional series 1. And he took us through quite a number of other experiences with additional devotional books that you can get right here on kwministries.net. Like I said, I'm the salesperson of the team, right? So I'm always going to lead you to the content first. So it's not just about getting what's on the website, right? It's about how can we aid each other and help each other and hold each other's hand and grow together on this journey. So we want for you, as we're going through tonight, never forget that you can navigate away from this page and go right onto our website, because guess what? We're live there too. But at any point during tonight, you can always log into our website, check out our shop, make a purchase or two. One of my favorites, and of course, guys, bear with me, I might be a little bit biased, but I don't think I am, because if you get your hands on this book, you will see why I said maybe I'm not biased. But if you look on our website, that very first book, you're going to see My Journey to Healing, Reaching Children with a Desperate Cry. That book was actually written by our daughter, Ariana, as she navigated her own journey of healing, or continues to navigate her own journey of healing through a chronic illness. And she talks about this in her book as a means really of processing her own experience, and also kind of giving you an insider track on what it's like for somebody to live with a chronic illness. Lots of people can relate to that. Like I said, our journey started out of our own challenges, our own desperate cry, but so many of you have come alongside us and have shared your own journeys. Early on, we had somebody on from Puretopia. Her journey was one that led her through, gosh, she had a daughter who had so many sensitivities to products. And so what did she do? She made her own. And her journey of healing ended up being a journey that she could bring others along with by sharing this product and sharing these things can help other people. So we've talked to lots of different people as we've been on here each and every Monday night, just sharing alongside with you. And we don't want that to stop. We want to always be able to engage with you and have conversations with you about what your journey is like. So of course, tonight is no different. And we're always excited to have a new guest in the house. Tonight, we have got Dr. Christopher Thompson. And let me tell you just a little bit. Let me tell you, this is about to scratch just the surface, guys. I'm not even going to give you the full 100. I'm going to let Dr. Thompson tell us about some of his journey. But I want to give you a little snippet of who we're going to be talking to tonight as we're talking about a journey through leadership. Dr. Thompson currently is a community developer and co-founder of the Great Grand Family Foundation, which is a 501c nonprofit corporation. And let me tell you what their focus is on in the Great Grand Family Foundation: promotion of education, health and wellness, community building for at-risk youth and seniors. That by itself, I'm so interested to hear more about just exactly how did we get into that, what people need to know about that. That's already so interesting. But guess what else? So that's, like I said, that was just a piece. But Dr. Thompson is also a noted author, several publications already under his belt. And one of the exciting things for you tonight is that we're going to have three people. Did I say three? Three people who have the opportunity tonight to win his newest book. And that newest book is Choose to Dream, the lessons on leadership and living your best life. Three people. Now, let me tell you guys, if you've not been with us before tonight, here's how you do it. How you get into the runnings to win one copy of this book tonight is that you got to comment and share with us along the way. Ask questions, comment, tag other people. Come in and just have a conversation with us. And that is how you get to be in the runnings for this awesome book, Choose to Dream, Lessons on Leadership and Living Your Best Life. And I see Glennis already is liking the video. Go ahead and share it, Mom. Go ahead and share it. And I'm waiting to see the rest of you guys pop in. So before we go on a quick ad break, we want to actually showcase a little bit of that book, Choose to Dream, right here and now. All right, right after the break, we'll bring you Dr. Christopher C. Thompson. All right. Good evening, Dr. T. Welcome.
Hello, hello, hello.
We are so excited to you've heard me use that word ad nauseum tonight. We are super excited to have you on.
Well, I'm
Uh,
excited to be here. Glad to join.
Awesome, awesome. So, of course, tonight we are going to be talking about a journey through leadership, which by itself is already a really interesting topic. I think a lot of people can relate to this in terms of going through their own leadership experiences and experiencing their own challenges and struggles along the way of becoming what we'd like to call a good leader.
Yeah.
So I want to get us started. Kind of a little bit about you. You've authored this amazing book on leadership, but I am sure you had your own journey to get to the point where you could now be telling people about what it means to be a leader. So give us a little background. How did you get to where you are?
Oh wow. Amazing question. So I I think I remember when I first started teaching, I had a student who he was in third grade, but there were teenagers who were coming by his house. Like he just had a commanding presence. And at third grade, he just was magnetic in terms of people being drawn to him and wanting to be around him. And he was misbehaving one day in school, and I just pulled him aside and I said, "Look, man, you're a leader, and you people look up to you, and so you have to conduct yourself a certain way." And he said to me, "But I don't want to be a leader." And I said to him, "Well, some of us don't really get that choice."
Hmm.
And I could relate to him in that moment because I don't think I ever chose to be a leader. I, I think it was something that was kind of, put on me, and at I guess at an early age. And it's kind of like one of those things, you just kind of learn to wear it. You learn to bear it, and you learn to wear it. And so I guess that is part of the journey, that when it's placed on you, to learn how to carry that responsibility of leadership.
Yeah, yeah. There's this quote by Jack Welch. It says, "Before you're a leader, success is all about growing yourself. When you
Yeah,
become a leader, success is all about growing others."
yeah,
Because one of the things tonight is that somebody's going to be listening with us and they're going to be like, maybe I'm already in a leadership position. Maybe that is something that maybe is actually on my radar as somewhere that I want to be. But somebody on here wants to know about kind of the nitty gritty. How do I grow myself into a leader? So tell us a little bit about what you think that entails. Let's start there. How do you grow yourself as a leader?
well, that's a great question. Part of me, I think about um the story of Joseph. What motivated me to write the book was that I was just kind of arrested by the story of Joseph. And when you made a quote from Jack Welch, is that Joseph, at his origin, he was this kind of self-consumed, self-concerned young punk almost, right?
Mhm.
That he really was thinking only of himself. And I think for him, at least, the circumstances forced him to grow. Um, and that's kind of how it happens most of the time.
Mhm.
That even if we desire leadership, because he's having these experiences, particularly dreams, that makes him desire the high life, so to speak, a choice place, a higher position. He envisions himself as in a sort of leadership position over his brothers. What
Mhm.
I often tell people is that the problem was that Joseph did not know why he received the vision. So, he wasn't in this place where he could understand the great and awesome responsibility he was being called called to hold. And so he's just kind of thinking of himself. But as he is kind of run through the gauntlet of suffering, he learns little by little about his responsibility to serve.
So, kind of in keeping with that story and that experience. Now, I think even from the perspective of, you know, I'm currently in a leadership position, right? And I think about just how you said that sometimes leadership can be thrust upon you.
Mm-hmm.
And in that initial experience, there can be a lot of growing pains. Like I think about, gosh, those first couple of months, it was like sleepless nights. Like, let me figure out how do we do the to-do list of how do we do this well? What are the things that we need to address? What are the things we can improve? What are the things that are going well? What are the things that are not going well? And how that whole process sometimes can leave you as an individual thinking, am I really cut out for this? I'm curious for you. Tell us about your first kind of foray into leadership. What was that experience like for you?
Oh man, I think I've been a leader for so long that I don't even remember. I guess um, it was kind of like as a student and more so as an athlete, as a student athlete.
Hmm.
I remember my coach kind of making me, well, I guess at that point I was the captain of the team, right? This was his choice, making me a captain of the team. And I literally, I just wanted to play. I was, you know what I mean? And I thought of myself as talented, but I just wanted to play. And I remember the first time when it was my fault that we lost.
Mm.
Um, I'm not even sure if I'm not sure if I wrote about this in a book, but I've written about it before that what happened was, it was the end of the game and we lost by just a couple points. And I remember going into the locker room and I felt like everybody was blaming me for what happened. And one of the funny things about basketball that we often say is that, you know, you don't win or lose based on one event, but sometimes, or one sequence in the game, but
Mhm.
sometimes it's one sequence that, many people remember.
Mhm.
Um, and in my case, it was a couple missed free throws. Like I missed some big free throws at the end of the game. And I remember almost coming to blows with one of my teammates that, yeah, I mean, I didn't want to fight, but he legitimately wanted to fight because he felt like I was being selfish. He felt like it was my fault that we lost. And, I just remember feeling terrible that everybody felt like it was my fault when I had I had tried my best. I had played my heart out, and I felt terrible that I
Yeah.
missed the free throw. So I remember
Mhm.
sensing the responsibility, not just that I was being treated unfairly, but I realized that I was being treated as such because I was seen as the leader. And I remember that being really
Mm.
difficult. My coach was very, very helpful in that moment, and I really cherish just our relationship because of how he handled it. It was a very formational moment for me.
Wow, wow. There's a question coming up right now from Pastor Taylor. How did you recover from that sense of guilt, and what did you do to prevent that for the
Well, I
future?
remember it was really my coach who helped me sort through it because he was he was really compassionate and caring and supportive in the moment. And I remember him. I mean, I when everybody left the locker room and I was in there by myself with a coach, and I just broke down crying.
Mhm.
I was in like 10th grade, and I just broke down crying, and the coach just came and he just helped me. He literally just helped me. And in that moment, I realized that he wasn't blaming me, um, but that
Mhm.
I was his guy and he trusted me. And,
Mhm.
he didn't even say anything that I remember. He just helped me because he knew that I felt terrible, but I know I
Mhm.
took note that he wasn't coming down on me. I really felt that my teammates, the ones who were being difficult, that were being unfair, and he kind of affirmed that because he wasn't being mean or difficult. He just supported me, and it said to me that he trusted me, and that
Mhm.
he wanted me to just continue to do well. And so I took it as a sort of affirmation and additional support in a difficult time. So I think the lesson for us is that we need to connect with those systems of support, that when we feel overwhelmed, we connect with systems of support to kind of shore us up in a difficult space.
So I want for our viewers to take note of that. Connect with those systems of support. That's our first lesson in leadership tonight, guys. Stacy made the comment earlier. Leadership comes great responsibility.
Yeah,
Now you
absolutely.
kind of started talking about this, but I was thinking about, as you said, kind of what that your coach did for you in that moment and how it helped to solidify this idea that, what, I'm not to blame, even though I'm in this position. This is a place that we are all going to learn and grow from. And so I thought about that in the context of you saying, I can't even remember. I've kind of always been in a leadership type role. So I was
Mhm.
curious for you, um, how did that experience translate into subsequent leadership experiences? And here's why I'm asking. So for some people, an experience like that could have been really defeating. Like, yes, I got this affirmation at the end, but I don't know if leadership is for me. I don't know if I want to put myself back in these kinds of positions and roles. But you didn't.
Mhm.
You continue to be a leader. So I'm really curious about how that transition happened and what you took from it and what you continue to learn as you've continued.
Well, affirmation, well, for one, affirmation is words of affirmation, one of my love languages, but affirmation comes in various different ways, right? And, it wasn't just my coach, but there were other people around me that were saying to me, man, you would make a good this, or you would be great for this. It was people who saw in me what I didn't see for myself, right? And were, kind of pushing me and encouraging me, and really providing opportunities for me to grow. I will never forget. I was at the Boys and Girls Club. I want to say I was in 10th grade in this instance too. And I walked into the Boys and Girls Club. It was a random day. I walked into the Boys and Girls Club, and somebody just grabbed me and said, "Hey, you come over here." And they were like, we're planning to go to this youth and government camp. You should go to this. And to this day, I still don't know why I was chosen, other than the fact that they considered me, as one of the young people who they saw leadership capacity and leadership qualities in. And I'm grateful
Mm-hmm.
because it was a life changing experience. I had never been around such high quality students my age, that these kids at this camp. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's legitimately a youth and government camp where we went to the state house and pretended to be senators and governor and attorney general, all that kind of stuff. And so I had never experienced people that young who had so much going for them, you know, and who were so well put
Mm-hmm.
together.
Mm-hmm.
It's those kinds of experiences that provide you with the necessary tools and resources to help you to grow. And I had so many opportunities like that. It wasn't just my coach. It was the director of the Boys and Girls Club. It was, a lady who worked at the high school. There were so many people, and my boss. I had a job back then. There were so many people who were giving me opportunities, who gave me so many different experiences to learn and to grow, to become stronger and sharper of a person.
Mm-hmm. So, with that background, kind of that framework, that foundation, here we are, however many years later. What is the definition of leadership that you hold to at this point in your life? How do you define it?
Oh man, tremendous questions. Kamala, you hitting tonight. The one definition that stands out in my mind is one I got from Dr. Harold Lee. I'll never forget, Harvard business trained Dr. Lee. He was my professor in a master's program in administration course, and he always said, leadership is influence, point blank. Leadership is influence. And Kamala, you talked earlier about bad leadership, right? That everybody desires to be a good leader, but there is certain thing as bad leadership, and bad leadership is bad influence. Good leadership is good influence, but leadership is influence. And I'll never forget that he used to say that all the time. It's simply put, influence.
Yeah. If leadership is about influence, and if good leadership is about good influence, how can I, as an emerging leader, not necessarily myself, it could be somebody 6 months from now watching this, as an emerging leader, what are the things that I need to be paying attention to that are the things that ultimately are going to influence others? What do you think?
Oh man. Well, the first thing is definitely your heart and your inner self. The worst thing that a leader can be is, and I don't even know how to say this, like, what's the opposite of self-aware, right?
Clueless.
But clueless, yes. Or wait, clueless and tone deaf, right?
Oh yes.
But the best thing that a leader can be is self-aware. Like, and I teach this to college students all the time, that to be self-aware is to be able to take the temperature in the room, but to also take the temperature in you, right? But then to be self-aware is not just to be able to take the temperature, but to change the temperature and to manage the temperature, right? That if I am about to blow, I gotta have some strategy or some framework for bringing that temperature down. All right. And so the most important thing is gotta be your inner self and self-awareness. And when I talk about inner self, we're really talking about character and integrity. The worst kind of leaders are the ones who are not well integrated. Like, it's always a show, it's always putting on, it's not wholesome, authentic goodness, And somebody mentioned this earlier, that no leader, no person always gets it right. But when people are dealing with you, do they get the sense that you are right? And when I say right, I'm not saying right as in right or wrong, but you as a person are upstanding. You ever shake somebody's hand and you feel like, like, oh, like you don't trust them. Like, people when they deal with you, they should get a sense that you are a genuine, authentic, honest, and transparent person. The worst kind of leader is the one who is scheming, conniving, shyster kind of, and kind of like what you're saying before, that you are looking for what you get rather than for what you can give and the ways that you can serve others. Kamala, that's got to be the most important thing, that the inner self and self, be aware of self.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. We've got a couple of great comments that have been popping up as you've been chatting. Desiree talked about how effective leadership inspires others to realize their full potential. You want to say more on that? What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think that leaders have the ability to see, and oftentimes have the ability to see in others, or at
Hmm.
the very least, see in systems potential that they don't necessarily see, right? So,
Hmm.
like you said, Kamala, you come into a situation, you come into a position, and you're immediately able to take the temperature and see, you know what, we're not doing this right. We need to be doing this.
Hmm.
And so a leader might be more of a systems person that sees where the systems are falling short, but then the leader is often able to see where the people are falling short. And I really love that about, and not just for the sake of pointing fingers, but for the sake of the opportunity to say, I see so much more for you. I
Yeah.
believe in you. I tell my students this all the time. I believe in you guys. I tell my son this. I believe in you. I believe in your capacity to do better and to be better. And that's, for me, that's like the best part. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
That I get to, not I have to, I get to. I have the opportunity and the privilege to inspire people to be their best selves. I honestly think that that's, if not the best, it's definitely in the top three. It's one of the best parts of being a leader.
Absolutely. I hear in your language there this idea of coaching, which I find really interesting because how you started your story was
True,
that you
true,
were put into
true.
this leadership role, and there was
Michael,
somebody who
Michael.
coached you
Yeah,
through
yeah.
a really challenging portion of it. And it was that coaching that sounded like it made a huge difference in how you were able to see yourself going forward.
Well, you picked that up. You sharp, Kamala, because I talk a lot in my teaching, in my training. I talk a lot about, this coaching framework, right? That I do. I see myself as a coach for writers, for students, for young pastors. That's what I do, and I think it just comes from my experience as an athlete, and because I've had tremendous coaches over the years. I've had some bad coaches too. I've had I've had tremendous coaches who made an amazing impact on me, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say, like, Keith Alston. I just got to call his name. He was just an exceptional coach. He taught me the game. He mentored me. He was like a dad. But then that coach in the locker room that night was Alan Henriksen, who
Mhm.
was just an exceptional individual and a gifted coach. And so, and I've had other coaches of different kinds. Dr. James Doggett, who taught me a lot about coaching basketball, but coached me in a lot of ways about life and about
Mhm.
leadership. And these people were tremendous coaches for me. And about Dr. Doggett, it was funny watching him coach. I remember he got thrown out of a game, and I was his assistant coach, and he got thrown
Mhm.
out of a game. And so this was my first time coaching a middle school game on my own because he got thrown out. And so
Mhm.
I got forced into coaching as well.
Let me ask you this. Um, Coaching and leadership
Mhm.
almost sounds as if they're being used synonymously by you, but
Yeah.
are there ever any times for you when they're a little bit different?
Yeah, for sure. Um, a coach is more like, a trainer, a teacher, a cheerleader in some senses. That
Hmm.
he's the number one cheerleader. But sometimes leadership is doing. That they say, for those who can't do, teach, right?
Yeah.
And Eric Spoelstra wasn't a great player, but he's a great coach.
Hmm.
Um, but sometimes, you can only, sometimes the best place to lead from is from the floor, right? And so sometimes you're leading by doing,
Yeah.
and leading by setting an example. And sometimes that kind of leading from out front can be the most inspiring and empowering type of leadership, right? Because your team needs to know that you're in the trenches with them,
Yes.
And so when they're able to see you embodying the work and modeling the work, it can become so much more powerful. Now, the trick to that is that you don't want to get so far out front of your team that your team goes, okay, see you when you get back.
Yeah.
That's a thing. There's that saying, if you are leading and no one is following, you're just taking a walk,
Yeah.
right? So there's this, they say that leadership is push pull, right? That you're pushing them from behind sometimes, and sometimes you're pulling them from out front. So the trick is, when you're leading by doing, is that you're not getting so far out front of your team that that you're moving too fast and you're too hard to follow. And I've been there before as well, and it's not a fun place to be.
Now, Dr. Thompson, you brought it up, so now I'm going to have to ask.
Yeah.
So, challenges in leadership, you just talked about it. I was once in a place where that balance wasn't going too well. How do we get out of those places when we find ourselves as leaders struggling? How do we move forward?
Well, I'll tell you, I believe that a balm for any leadership, any leader, and any leadership team is communication, right? I've learned that our default ought to be to over communicate, and it's kind of hard to it's kind of hard to process and to deal with at times. I had a student say to me today, Dr. Thompson, I don't want to talk a lot of times, right? But she's a strong student. So she only needs just a few seconds, just a few bits of information, and she's off to the races. And when I say she's a strong student, she's exceptional. She's one of the strongest students. But most people are not like that. So it's incumbent upon the leader to identify the ones specifically who need more communication and lean in a little bit better, so that there is this assurance that we are together. And the worst thing you can do is say, here are the instructions, all right, let's do it. And people are going, wait, what are we supposed to be doing? There's an old Sprite commercial. What's my motivation? What's my motivation? You don't want people saying, what's my motivation? You want to, I think it's Simon Sinek who said he clarify the win, right? And if we can clarify the win for everybody so that everybody's clear on what the objective is, we're going to take the hill, but which hill? Where's the hill? And what does it mean to take it? If we can clarify the win for folks, then it's much easier for them to follow along. So definitely the first step is to communicate well. And in communication, sometimes it's, time to say sorry and try to mend some fences and fix some bridges that might have been burnt.
Yeah. There were two comments that I think this is like the perfect spot to interject them, because I think that they overlap. One of the first comments was from Stacy, being an active listener, also putting away self. And then kind of the follow through on that, Tamara made one that said, authentic leadership demands vulnerability. And I feel like those two things come together. Sure. Go for it.
Well, first I got to address the one that said listening, and one of the reasons why I said it was an insightful comment. One of the reasons why I said to over communicate is that I had been accused at one point for not listening, and to this day, that was 15 years ago, but to this day, that sticks with me. That and it's a bit of an embarrassment that I was that tone deaf and clueless, that I wasn't able to hear the heart of some of my key leaders. And part of active listening is responding to gain feedback, right? So what I hear you saying is, and this is not just for the sake of one conversation. It becomes the tenor and the hallmark and the cornerstone of the relationship, that we find creative ways and meaningful ways to keep the lines of communication open. They demand active listening. It can't be one way communication all the time. It can't be telling and directing. But there has to be this willingness on both sides, and that's the key part. It's the willingness on both sides to receive and a willingness on both sides to contribute, right? So, no one should be constantly telling and no one should be constantly receiving, but no one should be constantly rejecting, you know, or, or vice versa. And so if there's this openness and willingness, and we're talking about the framework of the relationship, if there's this openness and willingness to share and to contribute and to collaborate, then you kind of prepare the groundwork to keep the communication lines open so that we can keep being productive, keep understanding. There's always a need to check in, like, how did we do with this? How are we doing with this? What can we do to improve? And what do we need to do to move forward? And when we do that, we're on the right path, I believe.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to vulnerability, right? Listen, one of the worst things a leader can do is to fail to admit a limitation or a misstep, right? That, for one, I don't know everything. So I need somebody to help me with some stuff, right? And then a very strong benefit to a team is for the leader to clarify where he or she needs help. I need help with this particular thing right here because I am not good at this, you know? I need help with keeping records and keeping track because I am not good with this. I need help with making decisions because I'm not the best at making decisions. If the leader can identify the areas where she is weaker, then the other parts of the team can step up. But right along with that, the leader has to have this commitment really to being honest and authentic about areas where I fall short. So it's one thing to say, I am not good at this. It's another thing to say, I failed at this. Like, I didn't do this well. I failed and I failed you, right? That I made this mistake and I brought harm to our group. I made this mistake and I harmed you. And that's meaningful. That is transparency. And it definitely builds trust and it builds rapport with not just the core team, but with the people around, with the crowd. So the core and the crowd get to see the leader saying, I'm not there yet, but I am pursuing the prize here. I'm pursuing the goal.
How do I strike this balance? Because I'm coming with some pushback now.
Mhm.
But without vision, the people perish, Dr. Thompson. I need somebody to be up here. We need somebody to be able to look down the road and look at everything and have all the ideas ready and in place. And what you can't see, I'm going to help you to see. So
Yeah.
how do I strike the balance?
Yeah, well, for one, I don't really see a conflict. I don't see a conflict. I see it as both and. Like, the only way that people are inclined to go along is if I am this inspiring and inspired individual. I can't be inspiring if I'm not inspired, right? And so what my team is able to get from me or gain from me is that I'm inspired about this thing, but there's no way possible that I could do it on my own. You see how they work together?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm excited about this opportunity. And right now, my core team, I'm dealing with a team and I lead in several different places, but I'm thinking of one particular team where we have this tremendous opportunity, but I'm crystal clear that there's no way possible that this could be done without you. So I need your help to see the thing. And see, that's the thing. Like I see it, but I don't see the entire picture. And
Mm-hmm.
it's probably another conversation to talk about how we get a distorted sense of vision that
Mm.
the leader is the only one who sees. Like the leader sees and everyone else is blind. Like that's quite egotistical of a concept, right? But
Mm-hmm.
that what it is that what I often tell people is that many hands make light work, but many eyes make a clear picture, right?
Mm. I like
And
that.
so
Anna Kay, we
it's
got to hashtag that. Many eyes make a clear picture. I like that.
yeah, so I see, but I couldn't possibly see the entire picture. And we were sitting in a meeting recently, this was like last week, and I said that
Mhm.
this is my vision. But then the person sitting next to me added a wrinkle to it that I had never even thought of like that. It was a part, it was easily encapsulated in the vision, but it was a part that I hadn't even seen. And I thought it was just beautiful. I sat there kind of dumbfounded for a minute, like, man, that's so cool.
Mhm.
But she brought this from her own passion, her own experience, and her own desire to serve,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and to be a leader, right? And if I can affirm that and see that as a contribution rather than a detraction, then everybody wins, you
Yeah.
know? But it starts with me recognizing that I need that input because what happens is not only does she bring genius to the space, but she brings ingenuity to the space and innovativeness and inventiveness to make the thing happen. So then the vision, the overall vision, becomes lighter immediately because there's somebody that's carrying a part of it because of her own passion for the work.
Yeah. I hear in what you're saying that good leadership sees where there is strength in the team
Yeah.
and finds ways to develop the team.
Yeah, so it goes back to what we were saying before, right? My
Yeah.
one of my greatest joys is that I get to, again,
Mm-hmm.
I get to develop the leaders around me, right? Or I get to help develop the leaders around me. And, you know, the starting place is that they have something meaningful and valuable to contribute.
Yeah.
It might be that they just haven't had the opportunity to utilize or fully express those gifts. But this space and my leadership allows greater opportunity for them to grow and shine and thrive. And that's a sacred responsibility. I cherish that. That's a
Mm-hmm.
sacred task that God's providence has allowed me to be aligned with them in this moment that they can emerge as wiser and stronger and more efficient and effective in the world. And I consider that a privilege. I don't know if I answered the question.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking. No, you did. You did absolutely. I'm looking back. I'm trying to make sure I'm catching all the commentary that's popping in. Hilbert made a statement about the difference between a boss and a leader. How a boss gives orders, puts people
Mm.
down, but a good leader develops and trains and those kind of things. So as I was reflecting on that and thinking about what you were saying just here and now, I wondered to myself, how do we lose people through bad leadership? What are some things that we've got to pay attention to so that we don't lose people, so that we
Oof.
don't put them down, so that we don't, you know, this.
Listen, I don't, you know what? This is birthing. This might be birthing something. I don't know. I don't need no more book ideas. Lord knows I don't need no more book ideas. But here is one. Maybe we need to write a book on it. Notice we. maybe you need to write a book on bad leaders, right? And that one bad leader, one character trait of a bad leader does not connect and 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 care for her team. That, and when I say connect, you know, so we talked about listening, right? We talked about listening, but listening is more than connecting. Listening is one way to make a connection. But when we talk about um, checking in, is more than listening. Checking in is taking time to acknowledge and to see a person, right?
Yeah.
To say, you know what, I value you as an individual, and I value where you are and what's happening with you. So I want to hear from you. I want to listen to you, but I am physically, or I am intentionally coming to you to establish some form of connection, to see where to get. I want you to give me a progress report.
Yeah.
That is golden for a leader, because sometimes when a worker or a lower level leader or manager is in the corner making widgets or managing their team, it becomes consuming, right? And it becomes isolating. And for a higher up to say, I see you, I'm listening to you, I'm what you're doing matters to me. It's like magic. You know what I mean? It's like magic for lower level leaders and lower level workers. So one who cares, one who checks in, and so checking in is one thing, but caring, right? That you ever had a performance review and they're checking in, but they don't care.
Yep.
Like they're listening because that's what performance review is supposed to do, but you don't get the sense that they really heard you and that they really care, right? They checked in because they had to check the box, but
Say they
did they
did.
care what I was saying, what I was expressing? We don't have enough sprockets to make widgets. Like, we don't have enough. And so if at the end of the meeting the response is not, we got to figure out a way to get you more sprockets,
Right.
then it
We've wasted time.
I go back to my little corner and I feel dejected, I feel
Yes.
drained, I
Yes.
feel, and so that's major. That's major. Another thing is that part about the sprockets. It's equipping the team. When I check in and I find out what's missing and what they need and where I'm falling short, I got to shore it up. I got to provide for the need. I got to provide whatever resource there is that's missing to make the team more efficient, and really to just show more support, because it could be that my workers, my team needs time off. They might need more fun time. They might need, more just time to debrief. Whatever the
Yep.
resource is, I got to show up to make sure that there are enough sprockets to make those widgets.
Absolutely. Now, Dr. Thompson, I cannot believe the fact that it is 9:54 and we are almost out of time.
Oh, wow.
But I know, right? But we would be remiss to not bring in this truly crucial conversation, which is, how does your own spirituality, your own spiritual life, and your connection with God how has that helped to develop you as a leader, and how do you use that to help develop others?
Well, for one, when we talk about our relationship with God, we're talking about the ultimate leader, right? We are talking about the original leader, right? And I think the verse that comes to mind is Matthew 28:11, where Jesus, as the ultimate, CEO, says, "Come to me, all you, my lower level leaders, who
Yes.
are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. So it's almost like Jesus is calling us to the divine workers retreat and
Yep.
saying, I will restore whatever resource is fallen apart. I will restore whatever is missing. And the beautiful thing is that God does that daily. God
Yeah.
does that on a daily basis, that when I wake up in the morning and check in with God, God is able to empower and replace whatever is missing and download whatever is missing and whatever it needs for the day. So whenever I walk into the classroom in the morning, I'm asking God, I need your grace and I need your wisdom and I need your guidance today, because I am a leader, but I'm not the leader. And I need the leader to guide me as a leader. And and the reality is, as a leader, I have influence, but the greatest influence on your life as a member of my team is going to be the Spirit of God, the Father God of heaven, and the Son, Jesus Christ, who saves us from our sins and covers all of our terrible leadership mistakes. Yes, that's that. The relationship with God is the anchor to great leadership.
Awesome. Awesome. Gosh, that was so well said. So well said. So listen, I know that we are going to give away 3 of your books tonight, but there are some people who are listening who are not going to be part of that winning group. So tell us about your book. Tell us how people can get it, so that those who don't win tonight, you won't feel too bad. You'll still have access.
Well, you definitely want to get this book. I wrote this book because it is the book, and I've had several high-level leaders who have read it and said the same thing. The reason why I wrote it is that I needed this book when I first started out. If I had had this book 20 years ago, I would have paid any price for it. And the reason why I wrote it was because, and around 2010, I was praying for a book to help me to navigate the leadership challenges I was facing. I just kept running into walls, and I was saying, God, I need a book to help me to find my footing. And I just couldn't find a book. I found some books that were helpful, but I just couldn't find that book. And I remember,
Right.
I believe it was Toni Morrison who said that if there's a book that you want to read that doesn't exist, then you must write it. And so I wrote the book so that the next person who prays for this book, it will exist. They'll just be able to go to the shelf and take it off. And so I'm excited for leaders who are coming along, that they won't have to make the same mistakes that I made, because I gave them the blueprint. And I gave them a vulnerable, we were talking about vulnerability. I gave them vulnerable, almost a brutally honest my version of my story, so that they can know firsthand that this is what works and this is what doesn't work.
Yeah. Awesome. Kareth, I see you popped in. The name of the book is Choose to Dream: Lessons on Leadership and Living Your Best Life. And Dr. T, I think your website is thinkinright.com. Is that right?
Yeah, thinkinright.com. You can get it at thinkinright.com/dream, or you can get the book at Amazon or Barnes and Noble. Obviously overnight shipping these days makes things much easier.
Yeah. Awesome. There you go. The website is up, guys. thinkinright.com/dream. You can get it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, or you might be one of the 3 people who are going to win it tonight. So, Anna Kay, we are going to roll that wheel. Dr. Thompson, this conversation has been so illuminating, enlightening, inspiring. And I think somebody, not just tonight, but somebody 6 months from now, a year from now, they're going to watch this and they're going to go, oh man,
Awesome.
that was good. Awesome. It's been amazing to have you on. Anna Kay, we're going to run our raffle wheel, if you will. And we are going to see who our winners are tonight. We are picking 3. For all of you who have been so communicative tonight, I love it. I'm glad that you stayed on with us, chatted with us, asked questions. So let's see. Stacey James Edwards, you are our first winner. Tamara is
All
going
right.
to accuse us of nepotism again, but it's okay. Stacey's our first winner. We got two more to go. Two more to go. Let's see who our second winner is tonight. Drum roll, please. Stacey, you can't get it two times. It's not how it works. All right, Winston C.S. Taylor, sorry, you can't get the book, sir. Not for you. Not for you. We're going to run it two more times. As a reminder, those of you who win tonight, remember how you claim that prize is to go to our website, Norma Morris Chin. You won tonight. So you will go to our website, www.kwministries.net/claim your prize. Fill out that form and we will ship your gift to you. So tonight we've got Stacey, we've got Norma, and we're spinning the wheel. See if we can get one more out tonight. Let's see who it is. Oh, Hilbert Glenn. All right, here we go. We've got our three winners tonight. Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. It's been an amazing experience. Dr. Thompson, we're going to have you back because I think this conversation is not over.
Sure. I would love to. Awesome time.
Awesome, awesome. Have a great night, everyone.